Hello viewers, you're welcome to another episode of Festival of Talks. We're so grateful to you viewers for watching our program and submitting your comments on Facebook, on our Twitter page, on Instagram and all of that. We are very much grateful. This week promises to be very much exciting as we'll be talking about making Nigerian youths entrepreneurs. We'll be asking questions like, who is an entrepreneur? What does it take to be an entrepreneur? And how can a Nigerian become an entrepreneur? To discuss this topic with me is a foremost entrepreneur. You'll meet him after this break. Just stay with us. Welcome back from the break. It's still Festival of Talks and I'm still your regular host, Angel Perfecta Eze. To discuss making youth entrepreneurs today is a foremost entrepreneur, a leader, an outstanding personality, an intellectual. He's no other person than Dr. Emeka Onachiku, the president of Port Harcourt Chamber of Commerce, Industry, Mines and Agriculture. Let's meet him immediately. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you so much.
We are very grateful that you really made our time, in spite of a busy schedule, to be here with us. We are very grateful. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Now let's go straight to the point. A number of persons will not know so much, but the young youth of today, about FASIMA in relation to NASIMA as it relates to Nigerian Association of Chamber of Commerce, Mines and Industry. So please just tell us a little bit about this organization.
Well, FASIMA, like you mentioned, simply means Port Harcourt Chamber of Commerce. And NASIMA is National Association of all the Chambers of Commerce in Nigeria. Statutorily, every city has a Chamber of Commerce, depending on the kind of business activity in that city, the major cities. So now, like you have a Aba Chamber of Commerce, Owerri, Kano, Saple, all these places, they all have chambers of commerce. So they come under the same umbrella called NASIMA. What we do is very simple. The Chamber of Commerce can be defined as an association of businesses in a given city. Association of businesses in a given city. So the Chamber of Commerce is like a common front for them.
Okay.
Whether you're talking about advocacy, you're talking about growing their business, whatever it is. So it's like a platform, it's like the mouthpiece of the business sector.
Okay. How can someone become a member? Is it open to anybody, or do you have to study a particular discipline, or do you just need to have the business instinct?
No. To start with, you don't need to study a particular discipline, because a human being cannot be a member.
Okay.
We do not admit individuals as humans.
Yeah, I understand.
You have to have a registered company by CSC. Now that's the primary requirement you need to have. When you have that requirement, you're set to go. Okay. The other things are depend on our evaluations. on what your company is, what you do, the category you need to belong to, the trade group you need to join. Those ones are for us to decide.
Okay.
But the primary qualification is that you must be a registered company.
Okay. How can non-members benefit directly or indirectly from this organization?
Well, I don't want to sound very modest, but what I will do with
Because it's an organization for the society.
yes, it's for the society.
Yes.
And as like I've mentioned, I told you, it's an association of businesses in a given city.
Okay.
So if a particular businessman does not want to be our member,
So he's not going to...
what do we, because I tell you something, what we do here is to further give credibility to a business.
Okay.
Take for instance, if you have a company and you're trying to get partners in America, in Europe, Asia, you have a lot of work to do convincing them about who you are.
That's true.
But that's where the chamber comes in.
As a
A letter from
Okay.
us to the company saying he is a member of Port Harcourt Chamber of Commerce, it ends.
Okay.
So why do you want me to now go and start assisting somebody I don't know? I'm only responsible for my member because I know them. We've done search with CAC, make sure that companies are correct. We know how the company is being run. We know the people running the company. We know the workers. We know everything about the company. So we can stand as a guarantor for them in any kind of business. But if you're not my member, I cannot give you a letter to say go to Japan and have a foreign partner. So if anything goes wrong, it comes back to the chamber. So the first port of call is become a member of FASIMA. Though some of the things we do can affect them. I'll give you an example. We've been fighting the issue of taxation in Port Harcourt, and you all see that it's been going down. So it's not benefiting only us. Some businesses who are not also members of FASIMA are benefiting from it. So it's not all about, it's two ways. That's one that has to do with the public. That's one that has to do with the individual business. The one that has to do with the businesses as a whole can affect anybody. Because when we say we are mouthpiece of the organized private sector, it's not just our members. That's advocacy. But when it comes to direct impact in your business, we're only responsible to our members.
Yes, we are only responsible to our members. Those are the words of the President, Port Harcourt Chamber of Commerce, Mines and Industry. We'll be right back after this break. Stay with us. Welcome back from the break. It's still Festival of Talks, and we're still discussing making youth entrepreneurs. Now, sir, we understand that NASIMA, the mother body of FASIMA, was at the forefront of for fighting for democracy for Nigeria. Just tell us a little bit of what NASIMA or FASIMA has achieved as a body.
Well, if you're talking about democracy,
Yes.
not just change of government.
Democracy in actual sense.
In actual sense.
Yes.
Okay, fine. The last time we had, it's been a long time since we had military rule. But let me talk to you as an economist. We have had a trend from 1960. If you check the rate of economic growth for the country, it's always been very high when we had democracy, even with the high level of corruption. But the economy has grown steadily. Now, if you also check during military dictatorship, the economy nosedives. It was worse during the Abacha regime when we had 1.2% growth. It's never happened. So, and you can see that during the Goodluck's administration, we went as high as 7% growth. We had as high as 7% growth. So, I want to explain to you why we want democracy. It's not that it's because our own constituency is the economy.
Yes.
So we give our reasons based on the economy. We believe as business people that the country will prosper under a democracy than a military dictatorship. And it can be proven with figures. And you could see that within the democratic era, the country has witnessed the highest amount of prosperity. In 2013, Nigeria had a GDP of 513 billion. Our GDP grew to 513 billion, making us the richest country in Africa. Our economy was number one in Africa. We've been on number two for a long time, but in 2013, our GDP grew to 413 billion, and we became number 27 in the world. The 27th biggest economy in the world. All these things were happening during democracy. So as business people, we do not fight for democracy for white people like journalists like you. Because journalists say, you don't want military people to flog you. You are only degree 4. Freedom of speech. Information. If a journalist was talking, probably, it's freedom of speech. You want to express yourself, But that's not what our own is about prosperity of the country, growth. And you could say that it's actually between during democracy, and we're saying that.
Okay. Now let's talk about the Nigerian youth. Would you say that since after democracy, having fought for democracy and achieved it, are you satisfied with the level of employment employment of the Nigerian youth currently? Has democracy affected it in any way?
Yes, thanks for that question. You see, in 2013, we achieved a GDP growth of 513 billion, as I said before. But it's an irony that a country with such level of prosperity could be having an unemployment rate of about 27%, which people say is even higher than that. This is what they say in the books. But even at 27%, it's still too high. So you cannot match the two together. Just like you now, your father is so rich, you can't pay your school fees. Meanwhile, your father is Dangote. And September is there, you cannot pay your school fees. You know what I'm saying? You can't feed well. Meanwhile, your father is rich. So something must be wrong with that kind of prosperity. So that's the problem with Nigeria. On paper, we look so rich. But the major indices of showing how rich a country is, like unemployment rate, remains very high. So everything boils down to corruption. It is corruption that is making us look rich, yet we are poor. I'll give you an example. I like to be very practical. Okay. Now, if I say I'm investing $2 billion in a project, from the business plan, I would have said this project will employ 5,000 people. That is what the books will capture. Now, I will show you the evil of corruption. This project is supposed to cost 5 billion. Now, I will end up spending 2 billion. How many people will you employ? You can see that you cannot achieve that. That's the problem with Nigeria. Because if those projects were properly executed and ran the way the business plan said it should be run, we would not be suffering unemployment today. But the GDP has captured that we have spent 5 billion.
To employ 5,000 people.
Good. At the end of the day, we don't spend the 5 billion. So you can't employ 5,000 people. I want to make a very simple analysis so that you'll understand how this works. Because people don't understand why we are so rich yet so poor. Because with the kind of GDP growth we have, we're not supposed to have the level of unemployment we have in the society today.
So talking about that, now in comparison with the military rule and democracy, would you advocate for, because what was unemployment or employment like during the military rule?
See,
because we understand that there was so much employment, people come out of school and they get jobs immediately during the military.
No. You see, they do not look at statistics. These people don't talk with figures. You see, when you are talking about economic growth, it's not just all about employment. You see, why people do not like military rule is that military rule alienates you from the world. Because you're facing sanctions from the developed world, your economy cannot grow. How do you grow an economy? It's through trade. You have to do something. They stop buying your oil, they stop taking your exports, they stop bringing their goods into your country. Your economy stagnates. So you must be a democracy to have that freedom to grow as a, so it's not something to compare at all.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying?
Corruption.
It's not a question of whether we are military rule or democracy. You can't compare the two, because take for instance, if we hear by fellow countrymen, the next thing we hear now, America will stop buying our oil. They will give those military junta 24 hours to relinquish power, or you start seeing sanctions. The next thing you see that the economy those dives. Nobody wants to. We've become a pariah country. So the economy cannot grow like that. It can never grow. So that's why you see in military rule, because the country is alienated, nothing works. So it's not a parameter. What we need to do is to grow our country is to check corruption. Check corruption. Check corruption. So if we say we are spending 10 billion US dollars,
it should be that.
It should be that. Take for instance, let me just give you another practical. Look at that refinery, for instance. If the refinery was working, the refinery had not worked for over a year. Now, I want you to check the impact on employment. Do you know how much they have spent in the refinery? Over 3 billion US dollars. Now, it's being anticipated that if the refinery is working, check how many drivers, filling stations. I want you to check the value chain around it and how many people that will be working. But if the GDP has captured that government expenditure, you know how GDP is calculated? Government expenditure, investment, consumption, net exports, that's your GDP. Summation is your GDP. Now you cannot imagine, the GDP has captured that we have spent 3 billion for that year for refinery, but it's not working. So if the refinery, if we have spent that money and the refinery is working, you see that over 10,000 people will be employed directly or indirectly.
What has FASIMA done to alleviate the unemployment rate in Nigeria?
Well, what you do is, because what we do here is not just to support established businesses. We also encourage startups and young entrepreneurs. So that's why if you listen to the news or radio, you will always hear us participating in one entrepreneurship program, one mentoring program. We try to do the best we can. And also, we also try to fill the gap where government can't. In FASIMA today, we have schemes. You know, I don't know whether you heard about our GWEPS, Graduate Work Employment Scheme. Yes. This scheme we are doing with RSSDA. So RSSDA started it and we keyed into it and it's working well. So we have taken it as a CSR for FASIMA, where every FASIMA member employs at least one unemployed undergraduate. It's working so well. Okay. So with this scheme, we have been able to employ several unemployed graduates in Rivers State through our members. We've also tried to support businesses with funding, because if a business has funding, they can employ more. So we have the best funding package in the country. I hope you know about that. We have the best funding package in the country that is giving businesses money at 12%, 3 years and no collateral. So nobody is giving that kind of money in this country. So these are things we have done because we know that the after effect will be increase in employment.
It's still Festival of Talks and we're discussing making youth entrepreneurs. We'll be right back after the break. Don't go nowhere. Welcome back from the break. We're still with the president of FASIMA, Dr. Emeka Onachukwu.
This doctor, not doctor.
No, sir. With the crashing prices in crude oil, our economy, I wouldn't want to say it's crashing because I want to be positive. I want to be positive.
You're right.
So, what do we do? How do we diversify? What suggestions can you give to the Nigerians, to our leaders, to diversify? We should no longer be dependent on crude oil. What suggestions can you give?
Yeah, That's something Nigerians never understood until 2013.
What was that?
Our economy is not even dependent on oil. It's not.
It's not dependent on crude oil
Yes,
solely.
yes.
Really?
Yes. So let me tell you something today.
Okay.
That our GDP grew to 510 billion US dollars. The oil, do you know what the oil percentage from oil was? It wasn't even up to 20% of the entire GDP. Can you believe that? So when this happened, the government now saw that that's a neglected area. Services, agriculture had the highest percentage in contributing to our GDP.
Okay.
Because before now, the government never knew the tons of money ordinary Nollywood was bringing into the economy. They never knew that some of all these services were the real drivers of the economy. They never knew. So they thought it was oil until we rebased our GDP. When the GDP was rebased, they now saw that there were other sectors that were being neglected that could actually make us great. So, what I'm saying now is not my thought, because the government is already doing it. Government has realized that we need to diversify after rebasing of the 2013 GDP to especially agriculture, services, and solid minerals. They've seen that we have a great potentials in this area. So it's not something I can come here to say I'm suggesting. It is something that has been done and something that is known. So all I can say at this point is that the government should be very serious with implementation. I would not say I'm suggesting it because it's what everybody knows. So they should do more to implement all the guidelines as stated in the policy so that we can see the result.
For the Nigerian youths, what would you say they should do? How can they be entrepreneurs given the limited funds that they have at hand?
Well, the issue of entrepreneurship amongst our youths and indeed Nigerians is something we missed long ago. The first thing is we see the government is taking steps trying to infuse into the academic curriculum of schools at all levels now entrepreneurship. This is what we should have done a long time ago. Why did they do this? Because they saw that the entrepreneurship spirit was not there. Everybody was looking for a white-collar job. Everybody was looking for a white-collar job because we believed that that was what was going to give us the status where we want to be in the society. That's the only way we can be successful. So the whole idea is to bring this spirit back, bring it back into our youths. Let them understand that through entrepreneurship, you can be as successful, if not more successful, than being in a white-collar job. Yes.
What's your advice to the Nigerian youths as entrepreneurs? What should they do? What are they not doing that they should do? They should start doing.
Well, what I will say straight away, because right now, government is supporting a lot of them. Most of them are getting grants. Some of them they don't have no choice than to do this. But something is very vital.
Okay.
Please, you must find a mentor. An entrepreneur is very inexperienced. It's probably a young person. You need a mentor that will guide you through the process of business growth. Some of them, that's why you see when they tell you the gestation period of a typical small business is 3 years. So it's not their fault. It's because most of them try to do things their own way. They don't learn, they don't take advice, they have nobody mentoring them. So the basic thing I will leave for them, because I know that some of them can get money from their parents, from their siblings, from the grants, government, even from FASIMA, because we give money. Please, no young entrepreneur should venture to do his or her business without having a mentor. You will fail.
Yes, that is the advice from the president of FASIMA, Dr. Emeka Onachukwu. no young entrepreneur should venture into business alone without a mentor. This is the size of our package today, and we want to say a very big thank you to our viewers out there, both those watching us on YouTube, like someone like Mugala Ibrahim from Baghdad. You sent your comment and we are very grateful about that. My name is still Angel Perfecta Eze. Until next week, bye bye.